We've been trying to do this for a while. I know the superintendent had asked me, and we had talked about doing a presentation on the vision of the graduate, what it is, and just kind of give you kind of an overview quickly of what we're trying to do and where we're going as a school. So that being said, I thought it would be nice if we could match it with our student advisory. It's hard with 1,500 kids to say, well, we need to pick 4 or 5 kids, so this made it a little bit easier. Our original lineup has kind of shifted a little bit because of the snow day that we were going to present before vacation. This is after. But really quickly, I'd just like to introduce Mrs. Boga, Miss Morgan, who's here, Mr. Kroll, in our student advisory. We also have students here for the, I think it's for Student Government Day and for Democracy in Action, correct? So they're out, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but they're here also to kind of see how these meetings are run, and they get to hear this presentation. So if they would like to join in at any point, I'm sure you can too. So when we talked about this presentation, you know, kind of started to think about how did we get to this point. So our NEASC visit is going to be in the fall of 2019, as I'm sure you're all aware. We talked to some people at NEASC back. Originally, we were scheduled for a spring visit, and I kind of talked about, you know, we had our 2-year and 5-year report. It kind of went a little bit over, and they kind of said, well, that's fine. We could push it to the fall of 2019. And I think the fall, you're coming back from school. We have some time over the summer to make sure everything's in place. You know, you don't know if you're going to have this after a winter break or if it's in the spring, you know, right on top of graduation. So they were very accommodating. And I started to quickly think about, again, the process of NEASC. This will be my 3rd in my career. And I think it's a good thing. They've really, in my opinion, have changed. When we first went through this process, it seemed that it was, you need to do this, you have to have this ready. It was a lot of rushing around, a lot of quantity over quality. You know, when they said, you know, you need to have some writing assignments, we didn't know, do you give them 10, do you give them 100? So we had, and a lot of it wasn't obviously with technology at the time. A lot of it now is done through technology. It's definitely more of a, I think they've adapted, and I think they've kind of brought it to us and said, what are you doing as a school? So what used to be more of, you need to do this, is really turned into, how are you meeting the needs of all your students at your school? Because every school is different too. One size doesn't fit all. So I think they saw that, and we were fortunate enough, I want to say it was a year ago, but it wasn't. It was probably closer to 2 years, or we can split the difference. About a half dozen of us went to a workshop that was sponsored by NEASC, and it was really an eye-opener. We had some great presentations there. They talked about all the different schools. Now, some schools had great best practices, and they were great things, but it was also a school of 250, 300 kids. So you take those ideas and you say, well, how does that work into our school, and how do we make it work with our demographics, or whatever it may be. But one thing that really stood out that day, and it was the discussion the whole way home, was about the workshop on Vision of the Graduate and how that was going to be changing. We're actually in the 2011 standards. The new standards for NEASC will be 2020. So even though we're on the end of one in 2020, there are going to be some new standards, which really trying to incorporate that early into our visit for next year. So this vision of the graduate, and thinking about what do we want our students, we've always said in our mission, we want our students to be, you know, good citizens. Well, this kind of gives us more of a guide of how do we get them there? How do we get them into that 21st century? What are the skills that they are going to need? So after a lot of discussion, you know, and after that workshop, it led to some talk during our department head meetings, and then it spread into our faculty meetings. I just have some notes I'm trying to follow. Next time, put them in order. And that discussion kind of led into how can we kind of mold this into our NEASC visit, and what would be a vision of the graduate. For the first time, we used a lot of technology, which was great. We were broken into different groups on professional development days last year, and sharing ideas to one central location, then meeting back in the auditorium to discuss those different things. So through professional development, a lot of faculty meetings and some wordsmithing. Of course, everyone doesn't always agree, but as a faculty, we kind of came together as a team player and kind of narrowed it down into these different areas, these 7 different areas. So this is where the focus has been. We've done a lot of work with it, and it's guiding where we're going. So everything that we're doing now, whether it's a discipline with a student, whether it's an assignment in a classroom, we're trying to kind of put these things back in where is our, for an example, I'm sure Mr. Kroll, as not only as a dean of students, he deals with a lot of things besides discipline, but how is that student sharing with us what happened? Is he being an effective communicator? How do you get your point across of what the situation may have been? So these are the things that we've been looking at and developing. And beginning of the year, we basically handed out the vision of the graduate. It's a little bit different than what you have up there. There are some other things about our ideas and beliefs of learning on the chart. But what we did is we replaced all of our mission statements and put this up. So this is in the classroom. We're working with the technology gentlemen, and they're trying to get this to be pushed down onto the Chromebooks so that when kids open their Chromebooks, this is what they see as their wallpaper, just to get them familiar with some of this also. So I don't know how the kids are going to respond to that, because I'm sure they like having their pictures up there, but I'm sure we can kind of bounce it in and out every once in a while and kind of find a happy medium. Ms. Murtagh, can you move my slides? Oh, okay. 'Cause I had this right here. So you want me to move along? I get what you're saying. No, that's all right. I told you I needed 40 minutes. You told me I had 3, so we settled on 10. That's okay. So what we did was for tonight is we put this together, and what we did is broke it into 7 slides, a few others after. But what I have here are the students, some representatives, obviously from administration, the staff, of what these things mean to us and what do they look like. And I'd just like to say that this is just a quick, whatever came to our minds. We literally could probably do this for a long time. You can look at this from a school level, a district level. You could look at it from a classroom level and where these all fit in. So we're just kind of picking and choosing. There's no rhyme or reason. We're not saying one department's doing it better than others. In fact, with the switch over to Aspen, we've actually tried to mirror up some of the comments that are going to be used for 3rd and 4th quarter around problem solver and effective communicator. And that should give us some hard data back on not only what departments may be doing it better than others in that what are their best practices, but where we are as a school. Maybe we are further along in global thinking than we know we are. And that will be based on the teachers putting those comments in for their students, gathering all that information, and seeing where our strengths and weaknesses are. And I think when NEAS comes in and sees that, we'll have that to present to them also and what we're working on. Eventually, we're going to have rubrics for all. We have them for the 2. I have one, for an example, at the end of this presentation, and they're currently working on the other 5. So by the end of the year, we're going to have all the rubrics in place and what it means to be a graduate from the high school. So, and there we go. So Pathfinder, I'm going to stop talking because I think I've more than used up my time. Does anyone want to speak on this, whether our students, or I'll pass the microphone back here too. Anyone want to take this away? Or?
Yeah. So the importance of being a Pathfinder, I think a lot of students these days feel this anxiety of choice where they know that their path after high school isn't as linear as it once was. You don't have to go in order of high school, college, work. And a lot of the programs that we've tried to implement, like CTE and the Career Speaker Series, are having an alumni panel night and having past PBT High students come in and talk about their careers, has allowed students to explore their own interests. We have such a diverse course program and electives that we're able to choose things like cosmetology, medical assisting, or take classes more tailored towards English if that's your interest, or civics. We have mock trials, which is an interactive history course where you go through the actual process of a trial. And having these different electives and classes and different programs allows students to understand and realize that they have a lot more choices than they once had, and to not have this anxiety of choice where they're graduating and they still don't really know where they want to go, or at least they have some sense of what they want to do going forward as a graduate in BBD High. What else?
And I think that some of our teachers are doing a really good job at implementing this skill in their classes. I know in my own TV course, Mr. V has been doing a really good job at letting us all try to find our own paths. It's not as big as a career or any big choice we're going to make in the future, but it starts to get us thinking about what we want for ourselves instead of choosing that linear path, as Audrey said.
Okay, the next one, effective communicator. Again, these are, you can see in the blue, this is some of the explanations and wordsmithing that we did and what it looks like, but we also try on each slide was to break it, what does it look like from an administrator, teacher, or student standpoint. And if you notice that a lot of this kind of overlaps too, so it may seem wordy at times, or you may look at it, but when you really sit down and think about it, it's common sense, it's great practice, not only for our students, but for our staff and for all of us as adults too.
I can speak to that, Mr. Buckley, if you want. Hello, everybody. I don't need a microphone because I'm the dean of students and I can project my voice very well. Just on a personal level, this is an initiative that we've taken up at the high school. I've been there for a number of years now. It's something that I'm very excited about, more so than, say, a mission statement or something like that. This is going to be kind of the umbrella with which we operate under. In all of our interactions with students, we can, whether it's just a conversation in the cafeteria, a conversation in an office, or a classroom interaction, that we can talk about honestly too, the efficacy of our lessons, and are they falling into or under the umbrella of the vision of the graduate. I think it makes for our staff, makes it a lot easier for them to develop lessons and to keep current with what's going on in education. The effective communicator piece is really one of the, they're all very important, but I think this, especially with students, is something that I look forward to working with. When I speak with students now, how am I talking to them about how an interaction could have taken place better? Even for myself, how an interaction with myself and a student, or myself and a parent, could work better. We're teaching kids to be effective communicators in the 21st century, and I think it's really important that we're breaking things down and unpacking things and saying, with every interaction, how could we do something that gets our point across a lot better? I think with teachers, we've already implemented the 9th grade seminar class, which has been very successful this year. 9th graders are coming into the high school now. They're in a class that deals with a whole range of topics, from school to life situations and things like that, and it's helping our students, because I think sometimes the transition from the elementary to the middle to the high school can be very challenging, and for kids, they want to get off on the right foot, and this class that we have now has been very helpful, but it dovetails nicely with being an effective communicator, and how can I get my point across? How can I make someone else understand what I want to say in an effective way? And that's really this piece of the effective communicator.
Just really quickly, there's some examples up there like the Decker and stuff, but improv, is anyone here taking improv? Have you taken it before? Mr. Gary or Mr. Jones, I think is on it too.
Yeah. So bouncing off of what Mr. Kroll had said about being an effective communicator in the 21st century, I know it's a concern these days as we continue to implement a lot more technology into our teaching and the way we communicate with our laptops and our cell phones, how to maintain this face-to-face connection, speaking that we have with each other. And though we don't have a public speaking class specifically for that, a lot of the classes that we have implement this in little ways, especially with improvisation. It's seen as like a fun class for students to take, they're with Mr. Carey, a performing arts teacher, but what they do is they speak in front of their peers in a casual setting, and they become more and more comfortable with leading a class themselves. I know in anatomy, we also flip the class where a student will go up to the board and they'll teach for the day, and the teacher will kind of sit back and allow them and their peers to kind of communicate with themselves to effectively deliver the lesson. And so it's in the little things in each class that allow us to practice our public speaking skills and become effective communicators, especially as we go on to graduate.
Next one is global thinking. Thinker, sorry. Anybody? Don't talk way too much. Any kids? Global thinker?
So at PPD High, we offer a lot of foreign language classes, and we also have our international club, which helps students see other cultures and other ethnic groups. And we also have a women empowerment club that helps women like see their struggles and talk to other women about women empowerment. And PPD is also a very diverse city. We have many different ethnic groups, and PPD and teachers are able, and some teachers have made an effort to do Black History Month, to recognize that month through articles of the week or posters and projects and stuff like that.
I think to go off of what Johnny said too, we're graduating our first class this year with their community service requirement, and this, again, not to say dovetail twice, but this dovetails nicely into that.
We put up there too, dating in bathrooms. Okay, global thinking. As administrators, we're trying to figure out what to do about this, because this is not just singled out at the high school. We've tried things, but we're trying to think of all kinds of different ways of dealing with it. We talked to other administrators at other schools and stuff. We've talked to some of the students about some of their concerns. So, it looks like sometimes some of the things that we deal with are maybe just high school isolated, but they're really not. I mean, you've seen things obviously in the news about the vaping and the dangers of it and the unknowns of it. It's really becoming widespread. I just received an email today from Mass General that talked about a discussion on it and the concerns that they have and stuff. So, again, that's when we kind of jumped in, and we were kind of thinking about different things. We said, what about vaping in the bathroom? So we're trying all kinds of different things. These are just a few examples of how we're approaching this vision of the graduate and what we want kids to graduate with and how to figure things out. Next one's problem solver.
Yeah, so I can talk more about the student example. So in classrooms, the students will be given a small whiteboard to do math problems on, and when they're finished with the math problem, they'll hold it up so that the class can't see it, but the teacher can. So the teacher can give like a nod of approval, a thumbs up or something, or if you're having trouble with that and you've got the problem wrong, they can come over, direct you in the right direction, or tell you what you've done wrong. I think this goes to show the relationship between teachers and students and how they're trying to solve problems with maybe more self-conscious and shy students who are a bit more shy in sharing their answers. And it goes beyond the classroom as well. I was talking to in this morning's meeting, problem solving can be shown in everyday student life. Like, how do I get to period 1 to period 2 without, stopping being late? Or how do I get to my locker without bumping into my friends or any problems that might occur? And even sorry, I lost my train of thought, but.
Rebecca, you had a great, that's the example she gave today. All the adults sat there like, wow. The freshman has got the backpack on, all the books, yet within 6 months they figured out different routes of how to get to it from A to B. There's 5 different ways to get there, and some of them are shorter than others. And as you had said, that's problem solving. So the 9th grade type of thinking to the 12th grade, it obviously evolves, but right there is something that I thought was just a great example, and we had asked you to, you got to bring that up tonight. So you got most of it in, because I was trying to remember what it was. Artist innovator was another area. Basically, the thing that kind of jumps out there is the comfort zone. And
TV. Nobody at home can hear you.
can you hear me? No, that's all right. They can hear me in there. That's okay. So basically, getting out of our comfort zone like tonight, and kind of presenting, whether it's the adults or students here, but also, again, like that improv class or some of these electives that make the high school what it is, allows kids to kind of explore different areas. I know I look around this room and I see some of the kids that are here, and I can say, yep, I've seen them in social studies electives, I've seen them in the performing arts and art classes. What makes that, what's that appeal, and what does that do for you? I don't know if you want to mention anything about your experience. Or.
I think when it comes to arts, we often think that you need to have something that's tangible as an end result to look at. But I think when it comes to being innovative, it also has to do with thinking on your feet and coming up with things quickly to be able to solve problems and go forth. So whether you're doing something that's a really long, drawn-out process that you've put a lot of thought into, or sometimes the best thinking you have is thinking quick on your feet to try to do something when you're in a pickle, for lack of better words. But I think all of those have to do with being innovative. So Peabody does have great arts. We have very strong performing arts, we have visual arts, and also all of the career and technical education. These are hand-on programs that you are, I teach cosmetology, you have a lot of products that you're creating. So having these opportunities to figure that out and express yourself, and even being creative with maybe getting permission for something, you have to be innovative to be able to achieve all those things.
Go ahead, John.
Oh, no, you guys said everything I was going to say.
Probably stole it from you, John, sorry. All right. Team player, pretty self-explanatory there, but if anyone would like to mention anything that we talked about this afternoon, or the meeting?
So, on the student side, so an example for like team player is NHS, and what they do is throughout the week, they stay after to help other kids with their classes or with their work they need help with. And also another example, ROTC has a Raiders team. It's what it is, it's like a workout slash fitness group where they do activities, and they have to work with each other. We don't leave anyone behind, and pretty self-explanatory. And yeah, and I think this is like an important part for the vision of the graduate. We want to exhibit empathy for others to attempt, understand their perspectives. We want them to see not just one perspective, but multiple perspectives. And yeah, that's pretty much what I have.
And I think this just ties into what the school wants us to be in the future, even when we graduate, because we're going to be working with other people, obviously. The school committee are working with each other. So being able to work with other people, other students, and getting along with them and figuring out how we can contribute is a really good process to be in high school.
Self-manager, anybody?
It's me. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. With all the new responsibilities that students get when they come up to the high school, with the extracurriculars, new classwork, and responsibilities in the home and at work, students are able to learn how to manage all that and still find time for social lives without an agenda book or with one that they buy themselves. And they're basically learning how to maneuver through life by themselves without adults hand-holding them. And they learn this with their sports teams, with the performing arts, with their own art.
Yeah.
Wellness, everything, right?
Exactly.
Anybody else?
Implementing these skills very early on with our first year seminar or ninth grade seminar. What is the name of it? First year seminar teaches our students to manage their time wisely, but also what they have outside of school may be completely different based on their own personal backgrounds, and you don't really know what extracurriculars or work or school life they're balancing. And so to be a self-manager now is so important for us as we go on, because as we like lose kind of the structured schedule if you continue on into college or into joining work. To have these skills now is really effective for us to continue to be productive. And not only that, but learning how to say no sometimes, which was a big skill that a lot of teachers kind of taught me, at least my senior year, was that sometimes it's okay to say no to joining this extra club, or like knowing in yourself what you can balance or what you can handle, and understanding your own capacity to complete your schoolwork and extracurriculars, and still be able to enjoy your high school experience.
Yep, and I think one of the teachers said it best when they said, looking at self-manager, I think of students who can demonstrate respect, restraint, responsibility. I think that's really important as our students get older, that they don't react right away with what they're thinking. We see a lot of this every day. We're very proud of our students, like we say at these meetings. We can't say it enough. Yep, we do have issues at times and stuff, but I think one of the best things that we have at our school is that, teachers, whether it's staff, whether it's deans, whoever it may be, or even peers, sitting down and explaining themselves or working through an issue. A lot of our kids come to school with a ton of baggage with them, whether it's mental health issues, family issues, whatever. And sometimes it's amazing. We're surprised as adults how they can put that aside. They can make sure that they get through the school day. And any support that we can give them or their peers can give them, we're there to help. But we have some kids that really graduate that have seen a lot by the time they're 17 and 18 years old than probably most adults do. So those were the 7 areas. Trying to wind down here a little bit. This is going to be the rubric. I put a problem solver, and what we're hoping to do through the 9th and the 12th grade is to try to get to proficient or providing. That is the kind of the goal. So it's student-directed, maybe teacher-supported a little bit. Obviously, an exemplary or sustaining is that the student is completely independent, can model it, whatever it may be. What we did is at the bottom of this, we put the actual from the teacher's evaluation. Their terminology is unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, or exemplary. So, if there's a kid or a student that comes into our building, hopefully in the developing area, hopefully over those 4 years, or what looks like it developing in the 9th grade, hopefully by he or she's senior year, they're somewhere in that green or pink area. So we're going to have one for each of those 7 areas. We put together a little bit of terms. If you go back and look at some of the verbiage and stuff, just if they need clarification on that. And then this where it got cut off a little bit there. Problem-solving template. This may be used by a teacher to discuss, all right, how are you doing in this class, whether it's a 9th grader again or a senior? How do you feel that you're a problem solver? And maybe give some examples of how they've worked their way through that. So these are some of the things, the tools that we're going to be using. Again, I'd just like to thank everybody that was involved in this. I know Ms. Morgan, she didn't get to say a lot, but she has been very involved in this whole process, along with Mr. Kroll, obviously Ms. Boga too, who's here. But a lot of teachers too that would have probably come tonight. At first, like I said, we talked about this in January, moved it to February, the snow came, and here we are again 2 days after vacation. So I'd just like to thank people for being able to come tonight. Say anything?
I'll add on to the rubric.
Sure.
Very quickly. I was fortunate enough to be a part of a couple of the committees, and we were able to use the rubrics. We used problem solver and effective communicator. And it was really eye-opening for me as a teacher, and I know with the other teachers that I was with that, every day we hope we're encouraging our students to be effective communicators and problem solvers, but you kind of get in the zone and you have to teach and the bell's going to ring, and it was a nice way to kind of just, assess and kind of start measuring, are we allowing our students to be all of these things as part of the vision of the graduate? So that's it.
And I'd just again like to thank, I know the discussions that I've had with the superintendent have been really great. She comes up to the school, we talk about some of the things that are going on. Been very, very supportive, along with Dr. Lord too. But it's something that we see as not just an exercise like maybe we've seen in the past, even with NEASC or something. We see this growing. We could see this being expanded not only from the high school, but a K through 12 even models, so that, who knows, maybe in 4 to 6 years you start to see this kind of make its way up through. And when you look at it, it's a good model for all of us as adults, as a school committee. You know, if you're ever asked in PVD, what do you expect your students, you know, as a school committee member, what do you expect them to graduate with? You know, you can look at this and you can say, this is what we're hoping they achieve. And I think if they come out of the high school in that level of at least proficient, if not exemplary, you know, they have a very good head start on their future, no matter what route they end up taking. So that's the other great thing about this. We feel that when we looked at this, we could plug in just about any student at any level or any interest, and it works for them. And we hope that when it comes time for NEAS, that they're going to hopefully look at this and be impressed with it. So I'd just like to thank all of you. I think I went over my 5 minutes, sorry.
Yeah, please.
Thank you so much for everybody being here tonight. This vision of the graduate has been one of my projects, and just about being this team, and of course with my students. It has blossomed into something pretty incredible, and all of your work is coming to fruition, and it is going to become, it has been spoken about at the leadership team. This is going to be something pre-K to 12, as 9 through 12 has been the model for us. So this is going to be a PVD vision. At some point, this is only my first year as superintendent, but we hope to expand it as pre-K to 12, but with your great work and continued work. It's best practices each day. It's not just because NEASC is coming, it's because this is best practices for students for college and career, and it's a path that we want to stay on. So thank you for that great presentation, Mr. Buckley and team. I appreciate it. Hard work each day.
Yes, thank you. That was a great presentation, very well stated, very well presented. And I want to, again, offer my appreciation and thanks to all of you for being here and taking part in this, everyone who's here today. Mrs. Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all very much. I actually really want to tell you how much I appreciate this. We go to all kinds of trainings and we go to all kinds of meetings, and we always hear, you know, our mission is college and career readiness. College and career readiness. And I'm going to be really honest with you, this is the first time that anyone has told me the details of getting someone ready for college and career readiness. Honestly, I have asked business people, you know, what are you looking for? Oh, wow, we can't find anybody that we can hire. Why? And I don't hear any specifics. And these are all of the skills that someone needs. And I really appreciate what you're doing because it makes sense. And it's good, solid, just really good, solid traits for anyone to have as they go through life and as they get ready to embark on one of the biggest adventures. But, I mean, you have a big adventure every day, but graduation is there as a big marker. But this makes a lot of sense. And I heard a lot of different things as you were all speaking, you know, about some different things that maybe as time goes on, maybe you would want a class on public speaking or a debate club or, you know, something like that would help people, or there's a lot of people in the community that might realize that they could step forward and help our students with some things. I remember years ago there was I'm going to say an elocution contest, but speeches. The students had to make a speech, and the high school needed audience members to come in and listen to them. And that was a nice way to get the community in there, to get the experience for the students as far as public speaking and people who were out in the business world or the education world that could listen. This is really very, very nice. Thank you.
Okay, thank all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew wants to say something.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Anotis.
I know, I surprised you.
There you go.
I just have to say how impressed, yeah, I know. I normally let you take it.
not to piggyback completely on what Mrs. Dunn said, because that is, you stole my thunder there a little bit, but I just want to say how impressed I am by this. This is fantastic to hear. And I could go, piece by piece through this and point out things that I'm genuinely impressed by in this. But the Pathfinder slide really, I think, is phenomenal. And that line of seeks out interests and passions to pursue beyond high school, I thought was so important. Because in my time, I always thought that, and I think you had mentioned it, Audrey, that linear path where it's, you're destined for college and we're throwing everything at you. You got to do your prep and all the things that go with it. I think making it clear to folks that you could go into a trade, you could go into cosmetology, you could be a plumber, you could be a carpenter, you could be any of those things, and it is of equal value as going to a 4-year college. So I think making it clear to kids how important that is and how valuable that is a huge thing. So thank you all for what you brought here tonight.
Well said.
Sorry, just one last comment too. And I think what you both were saying, and I'm sure we're all thinking too, is that this allows us to kind of reflect on our curriculum, and if it doesn't fit in here, well then maybe it's not reaching our kids either, and maybe it's not, we have to find a different way of doing that. So I think the staff has worked really hard on this, and again, it was a lot of work, but I think as time goes on and they use this more and kids become more familiar with it, the adults become more familiar with this, it's just going to become second nature. And like you said too, it takes away from that linear piece. And Ms. Bogo won't say it, she's a great example. She was our class president when I was teaching, and I remember her as a student. She was the class president. She went on to a 4-year college, and she, works at a business. She teaches. This was, when we interviewed her, you could just see the passion coming out because of the experience that she had at the high school when she was there in cosmetology. So we've got some great examples here. Again, not to always push the CTE, but again, Ms. Morgan in her program with the early childhood too has just been phenomenal. It's taken off, and a lot of that, she deserves a lot of credit for it because she is very positive, and the kids just gravitate to that. And the things that they do with our little Tanners and the students down there is really amazing what takes place. And our own kids, making lesson plans and going down and saying, okay, we're going to do a lesson on science today. And the kids just, not only our kids, but the younger kids are just loving it all. So I just like to say again, thank you to the staff. They've really done a great job with this. They'll continue to push this in class, and I hope this expands throughout the district. Thank you.
This is amazing.
For 1 minute?
All right, Sean. All right.
This is marvelous.
We'll take a 2-minute break.
Yeah.
Andrew.
All right, we're going to call the regular school committee meeting back to order. And we will start with approval of minutes, the January 22nd, 2019 regular school committee meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mrs. Dunn to approve.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Amico. Roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Approval of minutes for January 29th, 2019. Special school committee meeting minutes for SOI for the West and the South Streets.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mrs. Dunn.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Amico. Roll call vote.
You can say yes.
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 Yes. Get to use it.
Approval of bills, February 12th, 2019. Warrant A, number 4076, in the amount of $2,989,311.31.
I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant A, number 4076, in the amount of $2,989,311.31, subject to audit.
Motion by Mr. Olympio,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Dunn. Roll call vote.
Yes.
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 I'd like to make a motion for warrant B, dated February 12, 2019, number 4077 in the amount of $810,633.24, subject to audit.
We have a second? Mrs.
Second.
Roll call?
Yes.
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 I'd like to make a motion for warrant C dated February 26, 2019, number 4088, in the amount of $16,896.78, subject to audit.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Olympio, seconded by Mr. Amico. Roll call?
Yes.
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 I think so. Hang on a second. Try to record that one. Yeah. Okay, all right, the mark C and D in our packet, but it is A, and Audrey picked that up. Okay, yes.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion for warrant D dated February 26, 2019, number 4090, in the amount of $829.52, subject to audit.
Second.
Roll call?
Yes.
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 Yes. Sorry again.
Continued business, MSBA Higgins project, Mrs. Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nothing to report at this time, but we are gearing up for some final, just some final meetings to tie up some very, very small loose ends. So,
We're looking forward to it.
I know. It'll be official.
All right, we're going to hold the change in school start time for now, and we will go on to item 3, the AFJ ROTC cadets.
I was asked at one of the previous school committee meetings to get information about how many cadets graduated, and since from the AFJROTC, did I say that too quick? AFJROTC, how many cadets graduated since 2012 from that program, and talked to Major Rucco, and that was 23 candidates. Very impressive.
Mrs. Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you, Superintendent Murtagh. I am really happy to see that. I know that those students that have gone on into the military, some of them are already distinguishing themselves, and they have some really amazing careers that they're involved in, and I'm glad to see that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. All right, public participation. Anyone would like to come forward? All right. Superintendent's report.
Okay, the vision of the graduate was shared with us earlier this evening. Well done presentation by the high school staff and students. I just wanted to bring this to your attention as a school committee that the Higgins math program, we had a 6-year contract with Math Big Ideas. It has expired. I can't believe 6 years has passed. So we are looking at, we've been in conversation, the middle school math department and I have, and the principal and Dr. Lord have been in conversation, and they're looking at Math Big Ideas and Pearson. Those are the two that they narrowed it down to, and that will be a capital expense. But we want to bring that forward to you just so you know that those are the two that they have narrowed it down to. Those companies will be coming in to do presentations with them. They just want to see what, we know what they have to offer, but with new standards and new online products, we want to see what they have to offer. And we want to choose something that's best for our students. So I will bring forth that information once they have a final decision, and they'll come in for a presentation.
Question.
Mrs. Dunn.
Through the chair. Superintendent Murtagh, if you end up changing the math at 6th grade, does that affect the 5th grade or, the 7th and 8th grade going forward? I remember when this project took place, and it was, it was a very important piece of a vertical alignment, a vertical articulation.
Yes, so we have worked on that tremendously through our curriculum maps because K to 5 does math in focus. Right now, 6 through 8 does Big Ideas, and 9 through 12 does Pearson. So as long as you're teaching the standards, that curriculum alignment, that vertical and horizontal alignment, as long as those standards are being taught, it does not affect things, as long as that curriculum is consistent. So,
And would this be just a change in vendors, a change in textbooks, or?
dependent on, currently we have the Math Big Ideas. If they stay with them, it will be consistent. If we change to Pearson, that is a determination that they're doing it as a whole Higgins Middle School math department, so they'll all have say in it. So it will be their determination, and they'll come forth to you as a school committee.
Okay.
But I wanted to bring that forth to you, just so you know what's happening, because that 6 years flew. So,
It did.
yeah, so we want to make sure that we're current and updated with everything they have to offer.
Thank you.
Oh, I can keep going?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Is everybody else out with that? Okay. So we have some wonderful and generous donations. So with your approval, we have a donation of $3,500 to the Coordinated Family and Community Engagement, which is called CFCE, run by Donna Conley, from the Big Y. So with your approval?
This is done.
Motion to accept with gratitude?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Dunn, seconded by Mr. Amico. Roll call vote. We do all in favor? Yeah, all right. All in favor? Let's vote.
I think you have to.
Money, you have to do.
We do have to do a roll call?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
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 The next donation is it's a very large scoreboard and scorekeeper table to the Burke School from the Celtics training facility. Mrs. Beacott was in receipt of that recently, and with your approval, we'll have that put up. It will probably be a summer project.
Motion to receive with gratitude.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Do we have a second? Seconded by Mr. Olympio. Roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. This has been brought to your attention before, but it's in hand now, and it has been put in the gift account, a $1,000 donation to the Brown School from the PBD Ed Foundation for their makerspace. They're piloting the makerspace at the Brown School for hands-on activities for students. So the $1,000 is in our gift account now. With your approval?
Say motion to receive with
Motion to
gratitude.
receive with gratitude?
Thank you. We have a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call?
Yes.
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 This
Yes.
one has also been brought to your attention in previous meetings, a $2,500 gift donation to the Higgins Middle School from the PBD Ed Foundation for our print shop here. Our START team does a print shop for the whole district. So they're doing little projects around the district for all of our teachers and our students. They helped out with some of the science fairs. Very, very cool. So with your approval.
Motion to accept with gratitude?
Yeah.
Second.
Roll call?
Yes.
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 The next one is $200 to the McCarthy Elementary. That's supposed to be $200 to the McCarthy Elementary from GAP. With your approval?
Motion to accept with gratitude?
Second.
Roll call?
Yes.
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 That's all our donations. The next thing I'd like to speak about is Miss Moylan, Linda Moylan. She is our high school media specialist, and she does an outstanding job each and every day at the at the high school. And I want to recognize her with this very, very prestigious award with the 2019 Massachusetts School Library Association's President's Award, that it honors new school librarians making an impact on student learning. So we want to congratulate her, and we will invite her to one of our meetings. But this is a very prestigious award, and we're very proud of her. And thank her for her hard work and dedication each day with our students.
I'd like to congratulate Ms. Moreland on this award.
Thank you. The next communication is from the DESE, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, that the Peabody Veterans Memorial High School 2019 Mass Youth Risk Survey, Behavior Survey, they have been chosen to be to do that survey. Just want to make you aware of that. We have a couple field trips here. The Peabody Veterans Memorial High School varsity baseball field trip to Cape Cod.
Make a motion to follow the recommendation of the superintendent.
Second.
Thank you.
Roll call vote?
Yes.
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 In your packet, you have a monthly expenditure report. If you have any questions, please let us know. And we also have the monthly student attendance report. And I just want to let you know, with our new Aspen rollout that has been going wonderfully, we have been asked for a teacher's attendance report, and that will be forthcoming as we get more familiarized with Aspen and all its great products. So that will be forthcoming. So that's in your packet.
Through the chair.
Yes, Mrs.
Question.
Dunn.
On the student attendance, are we doing anything, or are we in the process of doing anything to improve that? Have there been any changes in the attendance policy?
Nothing in the attendance policy, but what we're trying to do is encourage great attendance. We've been working closely. We do incentives, and we're also working very, very closely with our new attendance officer. And we've been doing great work with that. And I will bring her forth to one of the school committee meetings so you can meet her too, because she's new to us in the district and she's doing an outstanding job. But incentives are a big thing. We've had a lot of flu this past couple months, and that's what the numbers are low this month. But it is a problem, and we're working on chronic absenteeism. But we're all working together as a leadership team. We're working with parents as well as students each day to boost that.
No written communications tonight, so we will go right into subcommittee reports, and we will hold the education subcommittee report. Finance subcommittee, I believe, will hold that as well.
Yep.
Mr. Rosio?
Yeah, speak to the finance subcommittee. Mr. Mertag, would you like to speak to that?
Sure. Do you want to pass those out, Mr. Olympio? Something that's coming forth is when we transfer monies from salary to operating or ordinary, we have to get your approval to be able to do that, moving from salary to ordinary. So this is a packet of items of transfers that we're moving from salary to ordinary, and we'd like a vote on this, enabling me to do this, and Mr. LaFleur, to be able to move those funds.
I'd like to make a motion to transfer funds from salary to operate.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Olympio, seconded by Mr. Amico. Roll call.
Wait a second. Okay.
Mr. Hoffman?
Thank you, Mr. Arnottis. It's good to be back. The Lady Tanners were winning at halftime when I left. So
Oh, great.
it's good news. And the sixth grade girls basketball team had a competitive scrimmage at halftime.
Thank you. That's good.
And there's less traffic on Lowell Street at 8 o'clock than there is at 5 o'clock. If I may, I'm just rejoining the meeting, and I'm kind of picking up the pieces here. Through the chair to maybe Mr. LaFleur, are we just, these transfers that we're looking for, a vote on, I guess, at this point, they're within the same departments, it's just a different, there was the opportunity to use some money within the same department in another line that was perhaps not anticipated, but would be useful, is that what we're doing?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Many words. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great. All right, so let's move ahead with the roll call.
Yes.
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 Mr. Hoffman, would you like to, we're in the subcommittee reports. Would you like to give an ed subcommittee report?
If I may.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Education Subcommittee did have an opportunity to meet earlier this evening. Mr. Onotis, Mr. Amico, myself, the president, along with Dr. Lord and Ms. Murtagh. We have been talking for some time about the utilization of the, for our sixth grade astronomers and the astronomy curriculum using the planetarium, thank you, up at the high school that had been refurbished a few years ago. And I'm happy to report that we have brought this project almost to fruition. And I anticipate, and the Ms. Murtagh and the administration anticipate, that it will be coming to fruition this April. There is in the works 60 Higgins Middle School students will go to the high school to tour the planetarium and also get a tour of the facility by, I believe, our student council from the Peabody Veterans Memorial High School on April's 3rd, 4th, 8th, 11th, and 12th. This is a trip that is going to take place at no cost to anybody. The students won't have to pay to get to the high school, as transportation will be provided by Peabody Public School buses, and the trip will take place during school hours, and it's anticipated that some students in an astronomy class at the high school will assist with the sixth graders when they view the planetarium. So we're very excited about that. We also talked about the recent rollout of Aspen, which has gone smoothly, and there's a little more work to be done with that, but we're already seeing the benefits of Aspen, so we're excited about that as well, and we anticipate having another meeting, our next meeting on Monday, March 25th at 6 p.m. here. Did we say March 25th?
Yes.
Yes, here at the Higgins. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. The School Safety Subcommittee, Mr.
Yes, nothing, the only thing to report is I'm scheduling a safety subcommittee meeting March 12th, 5:30. Now formal goes.
Thank you. Athletics and wellness?
Yeah, thank you. I'm reporting that the girls, the Lady Tanners were winning at halftime. I don't know what better news I can provide than that. They look good. I actually did talk to Mr. Bua while we were up there. He and I spoke for a little bit. But no, things look to be going well. There was, I will say, maybe it was just an observation as I walked into the high school this evening, about 10 minutes before tip-off, there was a long line that ran through the lobby, which was good. It was good, but maybe something we can work on in terms of, it was cold, the door was open a little bit, just maybe something we can work on for tournament games or bigger games to maybe get a little more staff or something at the table to allow for the flow of fans in a little quicker. But other than that, I also did have an opportunity to talk to Ms. Kilcoyne over at the health center about a week and a half ago, and I'm anticipating to get some update from the Student Health Center at the high school, maybe for our second meeting in March when we have a little bit of time, invite her and some of her staff over and get an update from them.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Quality and standards, Mrs. Dunn?
Nothing, no meeting to report, but I would like to make a request. At the presentation that we attended with Dorothy Presser on the governance project, one of the things that she had us bring up were the norms and protocols, and she suggested that we formulate some, and I'd like to ask if that could be assigned to the Quality and Standards Subcommittee, and we could start to draft things, we could get ideas, just submitted into the committee, subcommittee, and then we might be able to come forward with a draft of that.
Should we do that in the form of a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion that the task of the task of formulating norms and protocols for the school committee be assigned to the Quality and Standards Subcommittee. So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Miko. Roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Nothing new to report for the liaison to city council and advisory boards. Building and grounds, Mr. Miko.
okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Ms. Dunn.
We've split that committee, but Parent Advisory Board met last night. So I'm happy to report that the Parent Advisory Board met yesterday evening at 6:30 here at Higgins, and we were very privileged to hear from Mr. Robert Quist, the Director of K-12 Guidance. And Mr. Quist gave us a lot of information for all the parents at every level. And he spoke about the use of the Aspen program and how that's not only going to help our staff, but it's going to help students and parents as far as communications, being able to stay up to date with grades and absences, and any of the communication that is needed is going to be very, very very helped by the Aspen program. He told us how it's helping to take attendance at the high school, for example, which is something teachers there have wanted for years, to be able to do that online. And they can do it by class as well. And they're able to pull up information so that they can see whether a student may be missing a specific class for a few days in a row, and they can zone in on that and try to help figure out what's going on and meet with the student. So it's helping with a lot of the administration of just the day-to-day life for students and teachers. He explained how Naviance at the high school level is a great way, another great online tool for families to be using for college and career planning. He explained the difference between a guidance counselor and a school adjustment counselor. He supervises the guidance counselors in the guidance department. School adjustment counselors are supervised by the special education department. And that was something that the parents wanted to know. Let's see, he really gave a great presentation with a ton of information, and requested that if anyone wanted to get in touch with him, he provided that information as well. And he also spoke about the community service program. A lot of that is filtered through Mr. Quist. People who may be looking for student assistance and looking for volunteers. Mr. Quist is not able to specifically assign that or do anything, but he is able to put out a message to all of the staff and the people who are running clubs and sports and such, and let them know of these opportunities. And then it's they can contact the person who has requested some of that help. So it was an excellent, I really have to say, it was an excellent presentation, and a lot of detail. And Mr. Olympio and Mr. Miko, as members of the committee, were there too. And if you want to add anything, feel free, because it was last night. I tried to go through all my notes to prepare a more in-depth report. I'm going to do that for an email for the members and for the school committee members, but he really hit on a lot of topics, and it was a great meeting. And the next meeting will be March 25th, and a topic to be decided.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Mr. Amico?
Thank you, through the chair. Building and grounds. First of all, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of our subcommittee meeting that was held on January 29th, 2019. You can take a vote on that subcommittee vote.
Mm-hmm. Second.
Okay. Roll call vote?
Actually, you know what? On that one, it would just be the 3 members of the subcommittee.
So Mr. Hockman, myself, and through the chair, excuse me, Mr. Hockman, myself, and Ms. Dunn.
Yes.
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 At that meeting on the 29th of January, 2 statement of interests were submitted. We made a motion to submit 2 statement of interests to the MSBA for new roofs at both the west and the south schools. and I believe on February 15th of this month, they were submitted. So thank you to that. At tonight's meeting, we discussed the potential of putting together a committee to discuss the possibility of building a new high school, or I should say, submitting an SOI for a new high school. And we discussed that at length, and we've decided to have a meeting, a public meeting on March 6th at 5:30 here at the Higgins, and the public is welcomed. And like I said, we're looking to establish a committee to basically look into building a new high school, but there's a lot of work to be done there. I think that's it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Leo. Mr. Olympio, Special Education and Advisory.
So we met on January 30th, and a few things that was a great turnout. Some of the things that were discussed were actually the parents were ecstatic. We wanted to thank the school committee, Ms. Murphy, and Ms. Ruby, who was here, for the BCBA position at Brown School, so we're extremely happy with that. We discussed the new high school and where we stand with that, regarding statement of interest. And also to the parents, a lot of them were concerned with transitioning from elementary school to the Higgins, and Higgins to the high school for special, for special education students. So that's something that I think we need to address and work on as we go forward, because there's a lot of concern there. And then by popular demand, I had an encore performance. It was February 8th, Friday morning at Breaking Grounds, and there was about 14 to 15 parents that showed up, and I did tell them that bear with me for the next month or two, but going forward in the fall, I would have an additional meeting in the morning hours, because a lot of parents find it hard to attend the night meeting. So I did tell them that I'd be more than glad to have a meeting at night and have a meeting in the morning during the course of the month. So I think the next night meeting is going to be at the end of March. I just haven't nailed down that date yet. That is it.
Thank you, Mr. Olympio. New business. Stuff. Vape alarms.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the superintendent has looked into some of this, and I raised the issue because I'm wondering if it might be a possible solution to some of the problems we're having.
All right. Go ahead.
You're being a problem solver, Mrs. Dunn.
That's
I
right.
like that. That's right. I would ask if we
Proud
could bring...
PVMHS graduate here.
That's right,
It's a
that's right.
skill.
I was wondering if that's something that we could put into safety subcommittee
That would be good.
at our meeting.
Yeah.
If that would be okay with everybody. I
think
have
that
information
might-
to share, and...
That might
would-
work, because through the chair, I never knew there was a vape alarm. Should have known. But with all of the news, I happened to see an article about Georgetown High School. They had a vape alarm, and then a couple weeks later, there was another story, probably on a different channel, about another high school where they had purchased vape alarms. And it really made a lot of sense to me, because I know one of the problems with the vaping, and actually, Mr. Arnott, you're the one that brought it to us. The problem is that it's very easy to disguise or to hide the use of a vape, but it is creating problems. It's creating problems with setting off smoke alarms, and in the bathrooms, students going in the bathrooms and using them. And it has changed the way that the high school actually has deployed staff to be able to utilize the bathrooms for the students. And I think we need to do something to make the school safe for all, and to help with the process of providing education. If our staff have to deal with vaping as much as they seem to, there has to be a solution. I don't know if the vape alarms are the solution, but I just think that it's a way of opening the discussion to see what we can do to try to deal with this problem. It it made it into the vision of the graduate. We know it's an issue, so I thank you. And I'll make a motion that we put it into the safety committee. So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Yes.
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 I'll,
Executive session.
Mr. Hoffman.
Thank you. I know I have.
Not here.
Thank you for the compliment. I'd like to take this opportunity to make a few plugs for a couple of events coming up. One being the VFW at 20 Stevens Street is having a monthly dinner this Friday night from 4 to 7 p.m. It's only $10 per person. It's a family-friendly event. You can RSVP by calling Christina at 978-828-2317, or you can reach out to me on Facebook or on my number, 617-281-6494. Text or email would be great. But let's get a crowd there to lend a little bit of support to the VFW that could use a little infusion of people and capital and things like that. And I'll be there with my children, so hopefully we can get some families out there who are watching as well. And then on Friday, March 8th, the Cops for Kids with Cancer is having a comedy night over at the Holy Ghost. It's $40 a ticket. Big time headliners. Lenny Clark will be there. A bunch of other nationally known comedians. Last year, I think they had pizza and it's a cash bar and things like that. You can reach out to Justin Cecil, I believe, for that, or maybe Jimmy Harkins. Or again, reach out to me and I'll facilitate that. So let's get out there and support a couple of these good causes.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Mrs. Dunn.
If we could, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce two of our student counterparts.
Yes.
People might be wondering why the students are sitting with us this evening. Audrey Gabriel had already been sitting in front of us as the chairperson of the Parent Advisory Board, but she's going to be a Student Government Day participant. And Andrew L'Italian is also going to be a Student Government Day participant, and give them both a lot of credit for coming to the meeting to learn how we do things and why we do things, and hope you had a good evening.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for
being
coming.
here.
Thank you for coming. Absolutely.
Thank you.
He enjoyed it.
And Audrey, great shoes.
So, we good?
We need a motion.
So I'm going to make a motion to go into executive session with the intention of not coming back to public session.
Second.
All right. Do we need a roll call for that? Roll call?
I think we do.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think we do. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Andrew, would you like to say the